The Prime Minister of Luxembourg is the head of government in Luxembourg. His official residence and office is in the Hôtel de Bourgogne at 4 Rue de la Congregation in the city of Luxembourg. Since 1989, the title of Prime Minister has been an official one, although the head of the government had been unofficially known by that name for some time. Between 1857 and 1989, the Prime Minister was styled the President of the government, with the exception of the 25-day premiership of Matthias Manganast before 1857. The Prime Minister was the President of the Council. In addition to these titles, the Prime Minister uses the title Minister of State, although this is usually relegated to a secondary title. This is a list of Prime Ministers and governments since the post was founded. In 1848, in larger font are the dates of the Prime Ministers entering and leaving office. The smaller dates, during the respective premierships, are those of the Prime Minister's governments. Luxembourg has a collegial governmental system. Often, the government will present its resignation, only for the successor government to include many, if not most, of the previous ministers serving under the same Prime Minister. Each of the smaller dates reflects a change in the government without a change of Prime Minister. The annual salary of the Prime Minister is €250,000. From the promulgation of the first constitution in 1848, until the early 20th century, Luxembourgish politics was dominated by independent politicians and statesmen. The prerogative powers of the Grand Duke remained undiluted, and, as such, the monarch actively chose and personally appointed the Prime Minister. As a result, the Prime Minister was often a moderate, without any strong affiliation to either of the two major ideological factions in the Chamber of Deputies, the secularist liberals and the Catholic conservatives. In the early 20th century, the emergence of socialism as a third force in Luxembourgish politics ended the dominance of independents, and further politicized the government of the country. This did not affect the Prime Minister's position until 1915, when the long-serving Paul Etienne died in office. His death created a struggle for power between the main factions, leading to the establishment of the formalized party system. The Kingdom of the Netherlands shared the same monarchs with the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg from 1815 to 1890. The Grand Duchy has had its own monarchs since 1890. In 1918, towards the end of World War I, a new Chamber of Deputies was elected with the explicit ambition of reviewing the constitution. To this end, formalized parties were formed by the main political blocs, so as to increase their bargaining power in the negotiations. The revisions to the constitution introduced universal suffrage and compulsory voting, adopted proportional representation, and limited the sovereignty of the monarch. Since the foundation of the party system, only one cabinet has not included members of more than one party. Most of the time, governments are grand coalitions of the two largest parties, no matter their ideology. This has made Luxembourg one of the most stable democracies in the world. Two cabinets included members of every party represented in the Chamber of Deputies. During the occupation of Luxembourg by Nazi Germany in World War II, Luxembourg was governed by a Nazi party official, Gustav Simon. Pierre Dupont continued to lead the government in exile in the United Kingdom until the liberation of Luxembourg in December 1944. Whereupon the constitutional Luxembourg government returned to the Grand Duchy. Thus, although Luxembourg was formally annexed on 30 August 1942, the Prime Minister of the government in exile, Pierre Dupont, is assumed to have remained Prime Minister throughout. Political party, PDP-NICSVDP liberation governments. Neutrality ended. National Union governments. Died in office. Jacques Santer, Jean-Claude Juncker.